All right, everybody, welcome. This is Revenue Roadmap, where we talk about driving revenue and increasing profits in local businesses. I'm Anthony Karls, president of RocketClicks. Today, I'm with Mr. James Patterson again. Thank you for being with us again. Today, we are going to talk about offers. So, we're going to have a fun little conversation about offers. This is something that we often talk to our business clients about, because most small businesses are not very good at offers. So before we get into that, though, I got my fun little random question for Mr. James. So James, what is a common misconception about people that do marketing?
Yeah, I would say common misconception about marketers that I think is, I think there's a lot of stereotypes out there that marketers are these kind of loony, super creative, very extroverted type people. And as you know, Tony, running an agency, it's very much not the case often. There's so much data that can be utilized in marketing to refine strategy and hit goals. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things is we have tons of data nerds, in our marketing team. You would think maybe they had a career in web dev as well, but no, just true marketers who love diving into the data, discovering, new things and new insights that we can use to improve campaigns. So I would say that's the biggest misconception for sure. I think marketing gets a bad rep that we're,
Just all a bunch of
yeah,
creative designers.
yes, playing ping pong all day. Yeah, not the case. Sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think we want to talk about our last ping pong game, James.
Yes,
Save you.
it's true. I queued you up for that one.
Confidence. Although I'm going to shoot it down now because I said this right before we started, but it does look like you're shooting in a bathtub today because the curtain behind you is white. You got there's a line on the wall. It's probably just the corner, but it's funny. You're a little. You usually got a great setup. You just changed it up for me here, and now I got to give you some crap.
Yeah, can confirm not a shower curtain. This is a blind here behind me. But you might have inspired our next podcast episode. Maybe I'll do it from there just to.
Okay.
Nice.
Perfect. Got it. Okay, so we're going to be talking about offers today. So when we say offers, let's just start with what is an offer? What makes up an offer? What's a formula, or just describe it for us?
Yeah, so an offer, I guess in layman's term, is just something that you communicate as a way to incentivize the person that sees the messaging to interact with you in some meaningful way. So what makes up an offer is generally a hook. So this is basically what you're using to grab attention. As marketers, right, that's one of the biggest things that we're always trying to do is really we're just trying to get attention. Good marketers grab attention. That's kind of the bottom line there. So doing something to try and get somebody to say, oh, when they see an ad in their Facebook feed, or maybe they're watching, on-demand content and they see your CTV ad, something that gets them to stop and actually look at you as the business that's running this message. Format, then I kind of teased into that with in terms of how is the offer being, essentially put out there. So is it text? Is it something that's on a print ad? Is it something that's on a search ad? Is it something like that? Is it an image? Is it something that we can run on display or Facebook, things like that? Or is it a video? Is it something that obviously can go on CTV or social platforms? And then even potentially white paper, so something that maybe that you would even, potentially hand out and stuff like that if you have people kind of on the ground doing marketing for you as well. And then distribute. Oh, go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry, cut you off.
Yeah, so just kind of keep talking through, the elements here. So distribution then is where is it going? So what channels are you going to utilize? Again, social search, things like that. And then desired action, of course, is the most important thing, right? So now you got their attention, you're using the right tactics, you're on the specific channels, but what do you want them to actually do? So then that's all going to be formulated into one cohesive strategy to essentially, again, get somebody to get interest in what you're saying so that they ultimately interact with you in some meaningful way.
Nice. So can you give me some examples of what offers are for a family law firm, for example?
Yeah, for sure. So for a family law firm, one of the most basic, offers that we could call an entry level type offer. Generally, this is going to be at the upper funnel. So people that are in the research phase, So it's either folks that are searching for information-based searches, maybe on a search campaign, or maybe you're actively prospecting people that make up different interests or behaviors or psychographics that you kind of suspect might be in that research phase. Would be a free resource on your website. So the top 10 things you need to know before you talk to a divorce attorney, right? And that could come from you, right? You're the divorce attorney, and you can message it in such a way that where it's like, oh man, if I'm considering talking to an attorney, I definitely want to know this because I don't want to go in there and consumers, they want to make sure they're getting a good deal. They want to make sure that they're obviously going to be represented well, this kind of stuff. So it's a good way to get them in. So something as simple as that. So it could be kind of gated content on your website. They have to fill out, a form or something like that to get access to it. They have to interact with you some way. Usually there's some type of trade-off, right? So like you're going to have free, a free offer, potentially something like that, but we got to get something back from it, right? So like the desired action for the business then is they get that contact information from the user who's interested. They got a great start, right, as a lead, because now you know that they're actively in the research phase. So from there, you can deploy other marketing strategies and ultimately, hit them with emails. If you get their phone number, maybe you're having an intake team or a business development team reach out to them. So there's so much stuff that you can do with that, which started as just a very simple free offer to try and help somebody who's going through the research phase.
Yeah. So what are some other ones? Because I know when we talk about, if we could go through like what we call scaled offers. So
Yes.
we could talk through some of those, because if you have a good scaled offer strategy where you start with something that's free, just like you talked about, and you get to your premier product
Yep.
through the process of making offers, you have a significantly higher chance of A, generating lots of leads, and B, actually closing the leads that you're generating, because you're not going from I've never done business with you to give me all of your money, which is what a lot of
Right.
businesses do, because they're like, hey, just build me a website, get me leads, and I'm going to sell them a house. I'm going to
Right.
sell them a $10,000 divorce. I'm going to sell them like in our case, a $120,000 contract for a year. Like those are all very expensive. So that first offer should probably be something else. So like,
Right.
let's talk about what scaled offers are. There's a really good example of like someone at very high top of the funnel.
Yep.
What else could be there? And then let's work down what a scaled offer strategy could look like.
Yeah, so kind of just taking this flow through a scaled offer. So let's say that somebody's in the research phase, they fill out that form, right? Business gets their info. So maybe the next offer that exists then is the intake team or your call center team reaches out to the prospect that filled out the form and says, hey, we saw that you downloaded our white paper, et cetera. Would you be interested in a $100 consult to kind of learn more information on kind of like your situation? From there, you'd obviously want to have really good and strong messaging as to why it's a good value to them. Obviously, folks that are serious about potentially pursuing representation for a divorce case, making sure you're kind of talking on those elements as to why it would be beneficial to kind of get your preliminary type info to the client. From there, you would have another potentially scaled offer where maybe you, instead of talking to kind of more of a sales type person on the team, you could also talk to an attorney direct, and maybe that's more of a like $500 type offer that way. So then you can kind of play both sides, right? So somebody that's maybe really serious would say, oh yeah, I'll pay $500. I want to talk to an attorney today, get this really moving. Or maybe somebody who's still warming up, not quite there yet. Still gives them an opportunity to move from that free bucket to something then which your team can obviously later on leverage them in the pipeline to hopefully get them down to the sale. From there, generally speaking, you may have different tiers of representation, right? So then it's like, we do everything, you do some of it, we come together, whatever, that kind of a deal. So obviously the full service where basically the law firm handles all the paperwork, all the mediation, right? Kind of handles everything front to back on the case. That'll be a higher up tier. Then you'll have something where it's more so we're more consultants as you fill out the paperwork, you go to court and things like that. That will be a little bit cheaper. And then from there, you could have also like a really high end offer, which a lot of times companies use as a strategic offer to basically say, this isn't going to be for everyone, right? Maybe it's a $20,000 representation thing where basically it's for people that maybe have a ton of assets who are, obviously very wealthy and stuff like that, where it might be, kind of a difficult situation, and obviously sensitivity around making sure that the assets get split in a fair way and stuff like that. You could have an offer where it's basically like nobody's going to take this, and you know that. But it's a way for basically people that do fall within the rest of the scaled offers to kind of find somewhere right in the middle, which usually, if you're doing it strategically, is going to represent some portion where it's like this is our average value for a typical case.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's clear. That's kind of the way it would work. Is you have something very early on that's free that gets them in the door, and you just kind of slowly work them up with different value, and obviously the messaging and positioning behind that's important to ultimately get them somewhere in the middle, which is going to represent the bulk of your average value of a case.
Yeah, I know the law firm that I was involved building. We went from lots of free resources on the website where we trade information, whether it be forms or calculators or what have you, that clients would get access to recorded webinars, to live workshops, to a group consult that was free, to a paid consult with an attorney, to limited scope representation, to normal full rep, to two partner full rep, to Jeff Hughes, which is the principal owner and co-founder, and one of our managing partners full rep, that was our red herring offer, which was $100,000. Nobody's ever purchased that, but if they did, the benefit would be Jeff has 6 businesses that he's started in his life. He knows a lot about it. Someone going through divorce that has a business, they would get a lot of benefit from someone that's got a lot of experience going through that, is also very understands the law, is a good leader, understands the dynamics of someone going through a very high complex divorce with a business. So it's not like a false offer, but we do call it a red herring because like people don't pick it. If they're going to pick any of the big ones, it would be like the two partner representation versus just the traditional. But we do it in that way so that there's a lot of shopping options for the client as they're going through the process, because it makes them shop with us versus go shop in the marketplace.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about why they're important. Like, why are they important to you as a marketer?
Yeah, why they're important to us is because obviously we can impact in each one of those different buckets. So obviously, depending on what the goal is, right? Obviously, we want to move them as far up the offer as where it makes sense for their particular needs as possible. So you can use our different channels and tactics to basically tap into these different stages to get those offers in front of them, right? So if somebody's maybe kind of earlier on, again, maybe they came in through the free resource, maybe they've done the $100 eval. And then we have this big list in our CRM of folks that have completed this eval and this free resource, but are not quite moving forward in their case, right? We could use that offer as part of our ads to really get in front of them and make sure that they know like what's all out there and why there's so much value to this. So things like, putting out an ad creative, maybe it's a video that talks about, an example case where somebody, used our, you had mentioned the example with the 2-attorney approach, right? That package, they had chosen that package working with us, and they had a very successful and clean case that went forward and was very satisfied with their representation, and left a raving review in terms of working with us there. So it can be an opportunity to basically continue to help support, obviously the sales team at this point with your marketing tactics to make sure that we can push them forward and ultimately get to, again, a package that is as high in obviously revenue as we can get them that makes sense for what they need.
Yeah. It really helps match what the clients need and what we can offer them. Gives us the ability to like start matching these things and build value along the way, so they trust our brand. What else? Like, how do marketers use offers to push clients down the funnel? So like, when you started talking, you talked about maybe you're way up in the research process. We know with that experience building a law firm, a lot of people going through divorce, like they'll actually start their research process about 3 years before they actually are going to end up calling a law firm, which is a long time for them to spend with a particular brand. It's a huge opportunity if you are willing to capitalize on it. So talk about why they're important and how it helps push people through that 5 stages of awareness that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think one of the best things you can do from an offer standpoint is obviously continue to engage with, the contacts that you have in your list. So, having a really good CRM system that you can leverage for different marketing purposes is going to be crucial to any business, especially lead generation, in which there's a long cycle potentially, like you mentioned, with obviously people getting kind of warmed up to ultimately having the case closed and moving forward. So, one of the things that you could do is, if your marketing team's doing a good job of creating, valuable content, on the website and stuff like that, you could leverage that to obviously re-engage users in your funnel to get them to continue to learn more. Again, continue to associate this, unfortunately, big thing going on in their lives to your brand and your brand being there for them to support them. One of the things we've seen really successfully with some law firms, right, is like obviously we're there to represent the folks and have them, go through obviously a tough situation. No one's really the true winner there, right? So we what we like to do is provide supporting content a lot of times in those earlier funnels.
Yeah.
So like, how can we talk about family dynamics and stuff? Like, we want to be there for you and represent you in the courtroom as kind of the final step, right? This was inevitable. There was no way to stop this. If we can be there early on and provide you meaningful and valuable content, that just means if you end up getting there, you're more likely to work with us. So that's another way that, if you can get folks into your system through maybe a free resource earlier on, maybe they're not ready, they're going to take a couple of years or whatever the case may be to convert. Along that journey, you can send them valuable content, find ways to get them, hopefully interacting with your team again, potentially. So again, maybe, the standard rate, right, for an eval is $100 to talk to the sales team, essentially, to learn about your case and stuff like that. Maybe you get to a point where you know that these different groups in your CRM are very likely to generate good revenue if you're able to convert them. Maybe you send them specifically, right, this group of maybe just like 300 people or whatever the case may be. You send them a specific offer that's 50% off for this limited time. I know ecom does a great job with that, right? Like, I think everybody's seen that, where like if you shopped on a site, you put it in your cart and then you don't end up purchasing, and then all of a sudden you'll get an email or something and they'll say 30% off if you purchase now, right? It's the same concept, just from a lead generation perspective. It's
Yeah.
being really strategic with the data you are collecting so that you can give people the right offer that's ultimately going to get them through the finish line with you.
That's awesome. What are some of the difficulties you've run into implementing these or working with these with small businesses?
Yeah, I think a lot of small businesses, I really don't think that they think about offers as a kind of a scaled thing in which that you can build up different strategies throughout. I think a lot of times, for lack of better words, I think a lot of businesses don't really have an offer strategy at all. I think they just say like, we sell this, or whatever the case may be, or we provide this service, and that's it. So it's a learn more call to action to get to the website, and then when they're on the website, it's fill out this form, and that's it, right? And it's like there's not really a lot there to kind of help build people up. And as we all know, like in the lead generation businesses, and specifically, right, like people do need to be warmed up. And if you aren't warming them up, that means other businesses are warming them up. Maybe it's third party blogs and stuff like that, but it's very likely your competitors. And so then who are they going to work with? Like, now you're kind of like hoping that you strike gold, and hopefully they see you at the right time and end up either price shopping or whatever the case may be and interact with you, and then you're able to close them. But if you're not being, strategic and intentional in trying to provide good content and good offers that get people warmed up to potentially working with you, you're missing out on a lot. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that either there's really not an offer strategy at all, or they basically go from, here's our cool business, click through this ad to get to our website, and then talk to us. And that's, they have one base package that they sell to everybody. It's not very flexible, stuff like that. And I think the businesses that really excel at this, like we talked about, have a very strategic and scaled approach to this so that they can impact people all the way across the funnel.
Yeah. And from a cost perspective and profitability perspective, the further down the funnel you go, the more people, like the more competitors there are, because it's easier, right?
Right.
You're gonna bid on a term like divorce lawyers. You're gonna get clicks that are people that are interested in buying. Every law firm's there. And if you don't have, and like every law firm is also going to do a free consult, most do. Ones that have scaled offers can offer a consult like we do. We do $350 for a consult. We're like one of the only people that do that. And it's because we have a very strategic scaled offer plan. And part of what we can do is we go way up the funnel, build a lot of trust. They trust us, and we don't have to spend as much in that bottom part. So like the higher up the funnel you can go to get interaction and build value and trust in an offer strategy, the less reliant you'll be on that super expensive $50 per click, Google ads budget.
Yep.
That's just, if it doesn't work, and like part of making it work is like you got to answer the phones, the people got to be pleasant, they got to be decent at sales. Like you got to have a really solid sales machine to make that work. It works really well if you have that. If it doesn't, paid search doesn't work, which is
Right.
the thing we'll hear from people. So yeah, it's scaled offers are a really good opportunity. You got to think a little differently, but it opens up lots of opportunity that's really cost effective as well. Awesome. Any other words of advice on offers before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say biggest piece of advice is sit down with your marketing ops and sales teams today and decide, hey, do we have enough offers in which we can, get this out and impact people at different stages of awareness? Are we being intentional in that way, or are we not today? You'd be surprised how simple it would be to build a very basic free offer, right? Just to get people in the door. There's a lot of AI tools here. I won't make any pitches to specific brands, but I know everybody's heard of obviously OpenAI and things like that. It could be very simple as just getting a basic list of, again, if you're a divorce firm, right? Top 10 things to know before a divorce. Do not use that exactly as you get it, but you can build off of that, refine it, tie it back to your business and what you guys offer. Building this stuff out, it takes intentionality, but from a complexity standpoint, it's really not that difficult once you start moving on it. Obviously, there's going to be things from a pricing rate that you'll have to think about from an operation standpoint. But that would be my biggest piece of advice: is if you're not thinking about it today, start thinking about it. See what's really easy, the low hanging fruit. What's some basic stuff that everybody who buys your service is going to want to know, and see what you can do to get some ads around that, or just some really strong performing content on your site about that, so you can ultimately use that as an offer and then get their contact information and obviously have a much better chance of converting that customer later on.
Awesome. Well, thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you next time in the bathtub.
in the bathtub. Yes. Thanks, Tony.